Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is Friday, day 220, October 13th, 2017. I believe that's Friday the 13th, isn't it? That's okay, because it's Fun Friday. We'll have as much fun as we can, despite the horrific things that we're talking about. But we'll do the best we can, and hopefully we'll end it up with something fun. Well, a lot to cover, so let's get started. First, I want to talk about something that actually I wanted to talk about yesterday. I just simply did not get to it. So let me go back to that because it's fairly important. And I don't know how many of you saw this interview, but this was an interview that was done. See, today's Friday, so this would have been done, I guess, Wednesday morning on NBC's morning show with the two hosts on the morning show. And they're talking to this individual whose name is Stephen Schnuck. Stephen Schnuck. Don't know if you've heard his name before, but Stephen Schnuck was the maintenance engineer at the Mandalay Bay Hotel. He is the maintenance engineer that discovered the security guard, Jesus Ramos, I guess his name is. Jesus, whatever you want to call him, the hero security guard. This Stephen Schnuck, the maintenance engineer, is the one who actually discovered the security guard up there on the 32nd floor who'd been shot in the leg. He's also the person who made the phone call immediately afterwards down to the front desk to alert them that that their security person on that floor had been shot, and that they were taking fire, and that they better call the police. So he's being interviewed, and let's see. He said on Wednesday that he told hotel dispatchers to call the police and report a gunman had opened fire with a rifle inside the Mandalay Bay before Paddock began firing on the crowd. Allegedly began firing on the crowd. Stephen Schnuck told NBC News that he saw Campos when he was going to investigate a broken door. He said then, after seeing Campos, that shots started coming down the hallway. He took cover, and then he got on his radio to alert the front desk of the shooter. And apparently NBC has the call that he made recorded. On this particular video I was watching, which was on Zero Hedge, did not have that call. The interview ends right there, so I didn't get to hear the call. But this was a very interesting interview. I watched it. It was only maybe 4 minutes long, something like that. But the guy is straight up. He seems, honest and everything like that. Pretty rational, calm, very sane. Very much, someone you would believe, someone who seemed very honest. So he's the maintenance worker. And he says, well, I got a call. I was on the upper floor. And I got a call that the fire escape, the fire door, the door which you have to have constantly available to move in and out of for a fire escape, fire exit door, was jammed or not working or something. So he went down to the 32nd floor, and once he entered the hallway, he realized something was amiss, and then as he turned a corner and walked down another hallway, this is when he saw Mr. Campos, the security guard, who alerted him, hey, there's a guy with a gun up here. I've been shot in the leg. Get down. Which about that time, shots start coming down the hallway again. So this maintenance man, Stephen Schnuck, ducks back into a doorway, into a room doorway, and he lays low there and waits for the shooting to stop, which wasn't very long. It didn't take long. It took a few blasts down the hallway, quite a few shots, but again, he's firing pretty rapidly. And then he gets on his radio phone and he says, hey, there's somebody up here shooting. So we can assume that if the alleged hero, Mr. Campos, the security guard, was shot from what we're being told now with the new timeline, 6 minutes before the shooting began, then we can assume that within minutes of that, he had to have contact with Mr. Schnuck, and he tells us that he called down to hotel dispatcher to tell them to call the cops. So there is no doubt now, should be no doubt in any of our minds, that the police were notified probably prior to the shooting or just as the shooting began, maybe a minute or two before, that they knew that there was a shooter on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Hotel and that a security guard had been shot and that 2 of their employees were up there on the floor pinned down. This information had to be known at just before or just at the time of the shooting. So what's extraordinary about this for me, having listened to all that radio traffic between the cops on the ground and the dispatcher, is that these cops on the ground are trying to identify where the shooting's coming from, how many shooters, where they are, what's going on. And this whole time, at no time does a dispatcher say, oh, by the way, we've just gotten a call and the shooting's coming from the Mandalay Bay. We believe there's a shooter up there on the 32nd floor, blah, blah, blah. They were never given this information. During the entire time that this entire melee was happening, never was the dispatcher able to tell the cops. So that tells us that the dispatcher obviously was not aware. She was not given that information. She was not told that a call had just come in from the Mandalay Bay Hotel telling them that there was an active shooter on the 32nd floor. Now keep in mind, this whole time, there's cops down there. It's not just people out in the audience being shot at. There's cops down there on the ground who are being shot at. Vegas sheriff's deputies, Vegas Metro cops on the ground being shot at. And the dispatcher, during the whole time this is going on, never gets the message to them about where the shots are coming from or that there's even an active shooter. All the conversations you hear between the cops and the dispatcher are, questions like, what's going on? Where's the shooter? How many shooters? What direction are the shots coming from? This type of thing. They have nothing figured out. They're trying to figure it out. Never does a dispatcher tell them. How is it possible? How is that possible? We really need to see a very distinct timeline of when the sheriff's department received the call telling them there was a shooter, receiving that call from the Mandalay Bay Hotel, telling them that there was a shooter on the 32nd floor, and then how long it took before the dispatcher or someone thought it would be a good idea to tell all those cops who are on the ground trying to figure everything out why they're being shot at. I mean, for all this hoopla about how great the response was and everything else, it sounds to me like it was a clusterfuck. Sounds to me like the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, like they were in a complete state of confusion, even though they should have known with a wounded employee at the hotel, and with the hotel being aware of the fact that there was an active shooter prior to the shooting even beginning, that the police department could be so uninformed about exactly what was going on during the whole time this thing's happening. Doesn't sound like they had their act together to me. And then it takes, an hour and 7 minutes from the time the shooting begins before they enter the room. At one point, you have the 4 SWAT guys. Well, they weren't SWAT. They were actually 2 sheriff's deputies who were K9 guys, and then 2 other Metro guys who got together in the stairwell and put together a plan. At least that's the way they're describing it. And at some point during that interview, I remember this distinctly. I questioned this. They said, well, we got together and we had a plan, and we're in the hallway and we're thinking about how we're going to play this out, and we were waiting for the shooting to stop. And I think to myself, waiting for the shooting to stop? You're up there, you're on the floor, you know what room the shooter's in, because the security guard and the maintenance guy have just told you what room he's in. You hear the shooting, which means he's shooting at people, including many cops down on the ground. What the hell are you waiting for? Well, you're waiting for the shooting to stop? I don't get that. Seems to me once you get up on that floor, you approach that door, and you unload everything you've got into that door, someone kicks it open, you throw in a couple of smoke canisters, smoke the room out, and the whole time you're firing rounds, cleaning your magazines out into the room, unloading everything you got. Why would you wait for the shooting to stop? See, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, the guy's in there, he's shooting at people out the window. He's focused on that right now. He's focused on out the window shooting at people. That's a really good time to kick the door in and go in. Not when he stops shooting, when he might be in a position to swing around and shoot at you. I would have been wanting to go in while he was shooting, when he's not expecting me, when he's focused on something else. He's focused out here, not behind him. Just me, I would have said, hey, he's shooting. First of all, I just would not have been able to sit there in the hallway knowing he's gunning down all those people. I would have been at that door and I said, okay, 1, 2, 3, let's open everything. We'd open everything we got, kick the damn door in, and keep firing. Throw in a couple smoke canisters and go in and get him. Police him up off the floor because you should have dumped enough rounds in the room that he should be dead. Or nearly dead. Very interesting interview. A very good witness, Mr. Schnuck. So if you want to check that out, you can probably just type in NBC interview Stephen Schnuck, SHNUCK, or you can just go over to Zero Hedge and scroll down and you'll see the story and the video along with it. I highly recommend you watch it. It's quite eye-opening, but it really gives us another affirmative point that confirms that the Las Vegas Metro PD or Sheriff's Department, whoever they called, should have been aware of where the shooter was, in what hotel, on what floor. They should have known this just before the shooting began or as the shooting was happening, certainly. The fact that it went on for as long as it did with all these cops down there not knowing what the hell's going on and the dispatcher not even able to tell them what was going on. There's a lot of problems with this story, as you all know. And it'll be interesting to see the press conference. I'm doing this video on Thursday night. You'll be watching it on Friday. And Friday is the press conference. So, you know, Saturday I'll be talking about the press conference. But will be interesting to see what transpires in the press conference. I'm expecting now that they've got their narrative. And they're going to stick with that narrative come hell or high water. They'll ignore anything that doesn't feed into the narrative. They'll try to get the news media to talk about something else. Talk about Mr. Weinstein. Talk about this. Talk about that. Talk about fires in California. Talk about flooding. Talk about Trump. Talk about anything. Talk about the fucking... It doesn't matter. Talk about anything. Just don't talk about the story. Let the story die. Hopefully people will lose interest and stop asking questions. We will pretend to do an investigation, and at some point we'll come out with an official statement of the facts. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, no, no. No, no, no. This is not going to work for me. No, 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 not going to work for me. No. I'm going to need... I don't give a damn what their official statement is, what their narrative is. I don't give a damn. I want to know how many rounds they found, how many rounds were found in the room, how much spent brass, shell casings is what I mean, shell casings, how many shell casings were in the room. They should have been photographed by the photographer. They should have been counted. Every single piece of brass should have been counted and photographed. That's the first thing I want to know. The second thing I want to know is the ballistics report. I want to know the results of the autopsy of both Mr. Paddock and all the victims. These are very important pieces of information. We need to know exactly what weapons were used. What weapons were used. This can all be known. This is all known information. And at the end of this investigation, all this information should be revealed. If it is not, there's going to be a lot of trouble. There's going to be a lot of people asking a lot of questions. And they should be. And I'll be one of them. I'm not going to sit here and have them drag this thing out for a couple months and hopefully we forget about it. And then they come out and have a press conference and give us a line of BS. I don't want to hear what they have to say. I don't want to hear a single freaking word they have to say. I want them to put up on the screen for me the actual scientific data from the ballistics report, the photos of the crime scene showing all those rounds, a physical count of those rounds. I want to see those rounds. I want to see the brass. I want to see the cartridges. I want to see the autopsy. I want to see the ballistics report. And there should be an acoustic experts brought in to analyze the audio and determine for sure where those shots came from. It can be done. It is a science. It is a science. You can absolutely determine where those shots came from. Absolutely can. It's been done before. It's been done many, 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 many times. You can analyze sound waves. You can use a various scientific mathematical formula by plugging in the numbers, which we can learn, and you can get a result that will tell you where those shots came from. Once you know the weapon, that's all you need to know. You've got the audio recording. Now tell me what weapon and what type of round was being fired, and I'll tell you where the shots came from. This is what we want. Not a story, not a narrative, not anything like that. We want the scientific data, the analysis from the investigation, the forensic science. That's what we want. Don't want any bullshit. How about some TowerGate news? Well, let's see. Where are we? Oh, yes. Richard Pollock of the Daily Caller. The House Intelligence Committee is ramping up their probe on the Obama unmasking. This goes right to the heart of what TowerGate is all about. The House Senate Judiciary Committee is now focusing on Fusion GPS, as well as the House Intel Committee. And over the next 2 weeks, they will hear from both Fusion GPS and Samantha Power. Fusion GPS had to be subpoenaed. Samantha Power agreed to come and talk to them privately, meaning in a closed session, regarding the unmasking, which she requested 260 times, primarily on Trump campaign officials. They want to know, who was Samantha Power working with? Who is she working with to get the info? Obviously NSA, probably CIA, Mr. Brennan, probably Comey, maybe Loretta Lynch, but they want to know who she was working with. And I think you'll find it'll put you right inside the Obama administration. Mr. Rhodes and Mr. Obama himself. I think that's what they're going to learn. This was an Obama administration operation from the top down. Well, the Czech Republic is about to possibly get their own Donald Trump type president. Billionaire Andrej Babis is a billionaire who is running for president of the Czech Republic. He's running on a platform similar to Trump. This election will be held on October 20th and 21st. Babis is a skilled businessman who is running against the establishment. You know, I've been talking a lot in the past 6 months or so about the Brexit. We're watching the early stages of the breakup of the EU, and I've been telling you for months and months that the breakup of the EU will start with the former Eastern Bloc countries, Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic, possibly Poland, and all the rest. All these countries. These are the countries to watch. This is where the beginning of the collapse of the European Union will happen. It will happen with the former Eastern Bloc countries. And we see it building up. It's been building and building and building. And we'll just continue to watch. But I'm telling you, that's where the dominoes are going to start to fall. And you can bet that if Mr. Babis wins, the technocrats in the EU are going to crap themselves. This is very, very bad news for them. Very bad news, because the Czech Republic is kind of in a block. And when they go, they take 4 or 5 other countries with them, because they all stick together. Yes, indeed. That's what you're looking at. President Trump signed an executive order to allow health insurance co-ops, which will allow groups to purchase across state lines. This is a huge, huge, major, major deal, my friends. It is the death knell of Obamacare. And this was brought about by months of negotiations and conversations between Rand Paul and Trump. Now, this is actually something that Dr. Ron Paul talked about for years and years, about these types of co-ops. And Rand Paul has picked up on it. He's been pushing it. It's one reason he voted against the Obamacare repeals and stuff because this wasn't a part of it. But this will destroy Obamacare, period. Even if the Congress drags their feet, this will destroy it. Because what this does, this allows going across state lines to buy insurance, number one, but allows people to pool in groups and create large groups of insurers or of people to be insured. For instance, you might be a barber. Well, you can join a health insurance co-op that is nothing but barbers. All the barbers in America and hairstylists join this as a group, and now they get to buy as a group across state lines anywhere in the country health insurance. They'll get a very low premium. They'll be able to negotiate something really good at a very low price, quality health care, because they have such a massive group of people. And this could be true if you're a plumber, an electrician, a maintenance worker, a janitor, any of these groups, farmers, doesn't matter. It allows for people to join groups, gigantic groups, which can then negotiate with health insurance companies across state lines for the best quality plan at the lowest possible price. It's like the free market on steroids. It's a Ron Paul masterpiece. And his son is now making it a reality with Donald Trump. You can kiss Obamacare's ass goodbye. This is the death knell. No one will want Obamacare when they can join a co-op and watch their premiums drop by 75, 100%. A gigantic amount. They can watch the quality of care come back. They can have their own doctor. They can actually pay out of pocket when their kid gets a broken arm or a broken ankle. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's a couple sticking points with this on pre-existing conditions and emergency care, like going to be rushed to the hospital, something like that. Some of these things that are like non-traditional relationship between the doctor and his patient. Some of these other things have to be ironed out. But believe me, this is the key to unraveling and defeating Obamacare, regardless of what the Congress does. This will destroy Obamacare. Congratulations, friends. Big, big victory. Trump has won, and we have won. Big. I'm sick and tired of the rates I pay for insurance. I'm sick and tired of it. And what we've been through in the last 5 years, this company, then we get this company. We've been through 3 or 4 different companies. The rates keep going up. The coverage goes down. It's a disaster. And everyone that I work with is sick to death of it. You can't use it. You don't know what to do with it. You can't afford the damn anything about it. The premiums are high. Deductibles are high. It's a disaster. This is incredible. This is wonderful. I'm so happy. Jesus Campos, the hero, as we are being told by the Sheriff's Department and the FBI, turns out was not registered as a security guard in Nevada. It is a law that in Nevada that security guards must register with the state's private investigators licensing board. There is no Jesus Campos listed with the PLB. What do you think of that? He was working essentially illegally, operating as a security guard without being registered. You must be registered in the state of Nevada. Jesus Campos, the hero, security guard who was wounded, was working apparently illegally, violation of the law. That's interesting. Hey, Loretta Lynch is going to be called in to testify in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The main topic, Attorney General Linsky's efforts to influence and shape the FBI investigation of the Rotten Reverend's emails and her homebrew server and the investigation of that. There's many other things that they probably want to talk to the former Attorney General about as well. One of the things I think they definitely need to focus on, not just the, because we know, what they're talking about here, we already know. Comey testified under oath. He said, she told me to describe the investigation as a matter. And then she coerced me. He didn't use the word coerce, but he suggested that all the things that he did was because of the way she made him feel like he needed to back down on the investigation or step away from the investigation or back off on the investigation. He gave every indication that his boss, the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, wanted him to back down on the investigation into the Rotten Reverend's illegal emails and her illegal email server, her mishandling of classified information thousands of times. and many other crimes associated with that. But we also need to ask her some questions. Let's not forget that little meeting on the tarmac. Not so much the meeting on the tarmac, we all know what that's all about, but remember, it was supposed to be a secret meeting. What happened was a couple journalists, a reporter, a cameraman, and a producer were at the local airport to cover another story. They noticed the meeting on the tarmac, discovered it was Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch. They went back to their news station to produce the story, put it all together, at which point someone from the news station got wind of it and contacted the Justice Department and tipped them off and said, hey, a couple of our reporters were down at the airport and they know about that meeting between Lynch and Clinton on the tarmac. Yeah, they got the whole story and they're working on it right now. It's going to go live on air. Just letting you know. And the next thing that happens is that we learn from the emails is that the members of the Justice Department and FBI get together and they're talking about how to handle the situation. Not only that, but a couple of liberal media organizations got wind of it as well, and they called to find out how they should cover it. And so there was a series of meetings and emails and various things going on between the Justice Department officials and the FBI and the media to figure out how to handle the fact that the secret meeting on the tarmac had just been blown up. Certainly need to talk to former Attorney General Loretta Lynch about that. They want to ask her if did she ever assure any Clinton confidence. Now they want to know about her personally. They want to know if Loretta Lynch ever assured any Clinton confidence that she would not probe too deeply into the matter. That'll be an interesting question to see her answer. We know she will lie. And when the Senate gets done with her, the House Intelligence Committee is next. So coming up in the next week or two, she'll be in front of the Senate committee, which is like a joint committee. It's like members from 3 different committees. Then there's going to be the House committee. We'll get her the week after that. She's got a lot of questions to answer, very, very many questions. Getting back to more Las Vegas stuff, Laura Loomer, really starting to like Laura Loomer. She's a pretty tough journalist, and she's on her game. She's been out there in Vegas all week talking to a lot of people in the casinos and hotels. Well, she decided to go out to the home of Jesus Campos, the hero, to interview him, but instead she was met by a private security guard. The security guard, when she asked him who he was working for, he gave her the name of his company, which is called On Scene. She asked him also if he ever worked for the FBI, the local police, the DEA, the CIA, or any other government organizations. He refused to answer that question. Refused to answer whether or not he worked for or had worked for any other types of official, CEA, DEA, CIA, DIA, or anyone else. He refused to answer that question. He just said that he is working for a private company providing security for Mr. Campos. Why a hero needs protection from protection, I don't know. Other than maybe he was there to keep the media at bay. He seemed like a perfectly honest guy, but the only problem is that after doing this interview with him on the scene of Mr. Campos's home, Laura Loomer went back and checked out the company On Scene and found out that their license expired on January 17th, 2017. So not only does Mr. Campos not registered in the state of Nevada as a private investigator and should not have been able to hold the position he held, we're now learning that On Scene, the company providing his security, are not legally in business. They are in business. They got a guy out there at his house, but their license expired on January 17th, 2017. Also, Campos' name has now been scrubbed from the Mandalay Bay employee database. Laura Loomer was trying to get some information, talking to a hotel employee. She was able to get information on anyone else, but not Mr. Campos. Apparently his name and all his records have been scrubbed. That's very interesting. You can watch that video. Just go to YouTube and type in Laura Loomer. And you will see the video. Maybe click on This Week or something. And you'll see the video pop right up. She's standing there. And as she's standing there, guess what's parked in the driveway of Mr. Campos' home, which is a fairly modest home. A car. A car that's probably worth more than the home he's in. Yes, that car looked like to me a 2016 or 2017 Chevy Corvette. Convertible. Very, very nice car. Love those Chevy Corvettes. They rock. Where did he get the money? Where did this security guard working without a license at the Mandalay Bay Hotel get the cash for a vet? It's a nice vet. It's not an old vet. It's not a beater. It's not a rust up. None of that. No, no, no. It's literally like a 2 or 3 year old killer looking cherry red convertible Corvette. Nice car, dude. It doesn't belong to the security guard. She asked him. Said he didn't know who it belonged to. Hungary has officially declared Soros an agent of Satan. That's right, an agent of Satan. I'm not joking. I know it's Fun Friday, but I'm not joking. Remember, Soros is Hungarian. He's from Hungary. He was born in Hungary, but he's not allowed back in the country. If he steps foot in the country of Hungary, they will arrest him, throw him in jail, and throw away the key. The same is true in Russia and some of these other Eastern European countries. Mr. Soros is not welcome in his home country, nor any of the neighboring countries. They know who he is. He's an agent of Satan. And now it's official. Well, poll question for all of my subscribers and people watching this video. We all know about Mr. Harvey Weinstein. We're learning more about the pervert that he was. And, of course, we already know about the pervert of the husband of the rotten Reverend Clinton, Slick Willie, Bill Clinton. We know about his philandering with Paula Jones, Juanita Broderick, Monica Lewinsky, the apparent rape of Kathleen Willey, of course, his 12-year affair with Jennifer Flowers, his apparent rape of Dolly Kyle, Elizabeth Ward Grayson, and, of course, his long affair with former Miss Arkansas, Sally Perdue. We know about all these things, as well as many, many other things. His trips to Jeffrey Epstein's little island. We know about all that. And now we're learning all about our good friend, Mr. Harvey Weinstein. So my question to all of you, if you could reply in the comment sections, who do you think is the bigger pervert? Slick Willie or Mr. Weinstein? Slick Willie or Harvey? Who is the bigger pervert? I'll look forward to reading your comments in the comments section below. I'm kind of torn on this one. I can't figure it out. I need your help. Who is the bigger pervert? The Rotten Reverend's husband, Slick Willie, or Harvey Weinstein? Thank you for tuning in to TowerGate Day 220. I'll check the comments section and see what y'all think. Have a good night. Goodbye.